Good evening. Good evening. It's Eagle Eye Football here, and with my boy Santiago. How you doing?
Good evening or good afternoon if you're here in the States.
Yeah, lucky
So,
you. Lucky you.
welcome back.
Absolutely. It's been a while, but it's another episode of USI. Let's do it. Yeah, we're live. We're live. I tell you what, a lot has gone on since we were last together.
Absolutely. It's been just news on end. It's supposed to be, that what we consider to be the slow time in sports here in the US, and it has been anything but that. So,
Anything but that. I mean, I think we should just get straight into it because this topic has just caused chaos.
yes, absolutely. So,
Man, so for those who didn't know, Texas and Oklahoma have decided to leave the Big 12, I believe,
yep.
and wanted to jump into the SEC, which has had multiple implications. I believe the last time we spoke, there was news of there being an expansion to the playoffs. Now, this has kind of messed that up in a sense,
Overshadowed it. Yeah, absolutely. So,
absolutely crazy. Go
you
on,
know, so
Santo, bring us
Yeah,
to
yeah,
land.
yeah. So let me, I guess, kind of, for those of you guys that might not necessarily be familiar with college football, you have multiple conferences, sort of like multiple leagues in Europe, as far as soccer or football. Now, the big thing about that is that Texas and Oklahoma have always been historically big powerhouses in college football. So for them to just go ahead and say, we are going to be leaving and we are going to go ahead and join the Southeastern Conference or the SEC is going to cause a lot of mayhem. Now, um, back at a few years ago, because it's been probably about 10 years, um, Texas A&M left the Big 12 to go ahead and join the SEC. Now, when this happened, everybody, according to Texas A&M fans, and I'm sure we will get some in the comments here, that was a massive move for them because the SEC is a very marketable, very profitable league that, to be fair to them, does have some really good football programs. Now, according to a lot of what I've seen and what I've read up on with Texas and Oklahoma, the big draw for this is going to be all about the money. Uh, Now, I've seen a couple different arguments around it. I've seen a couple different reasons as to why. Now, they officially have requested the SEC to try and negotiate a contract by 2025. Now, I know it seems like a long time from now. Now, the reason for that is because of the TV rights. So essentially, what they're trying to do is they're trying to avoid getting out of the league preemptively, because if they do, they're going to have to pay out a lot of that contract there. So it's been causing quite a madness. I'm not sure. Have you had seen anything around that in the UK? Rich, I think you might be on mute.
There we go. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, just a bit of a technical issue, but yeah. No, so just repeat your question.
Oh, I was just saying if you've seen any coverage of this in the UK.
No, not at all. I mean, I guess we've got the Olympics that's happening, so that might have overshadowed it. But like I said, could I try to follow as much as of US sport as I can over here?
Mhm.
It's like when I go onto ESPN, that's all I see. It's Texas and Oklahoma, Texas and Oklahoma.
Oh yeah.
It's absolutely unreal. Um, I mean, I guess in one sense, Texas and Oklahoma, because I know obviously now that you don't actually have to win your division to make the playoffs.
Right. Yeah.
So I feel
So
like they now thinking, okay, if that's the case, why don't we just play against the bigger teams, which will generate more money? Because either way, we still got a chance of making the playoffs. Please correct me if I'm wrong in that sort of.
yeah. So college football. One thing is a lot of team seasons are defined by what's making what called making a bowl game or a championship game. You generally need 6 wins in your season to go ahead and get that. Now, of course, you have the college football playoffs, which essentially get to go see like the biggest and best teams according to the a committee. So it is a little bit subjective uh, around that. Now, the nice thing about that, like Vanessa said in the comments, we will get to see an old rivalry come back. So University of Texas and Texas A&M. So yeah, they will go ahead and play each other again, which is a big thing for their fan bases and in regards to the history of the game. Now, in regards to the conferences themselves, I think it leaves the Big 12 conference in a really tight spot. So I've seen all sorts of different scenarios. I've seen because when your two largest schools, and mind you, so for those of you that might not know, the University of Texas is the richest college football program as far as marketability. So they have the most amount of money out of any other football program in the college or university system there. Now, when those two bigger schools leave a conference, it leaves you with a lot of questions. It's what's gonna happen with the rest of the Big 12. I know I've seen some articles say good riddance. Go ahead, like please leave kind of deal,
Yeah,
because the big, like I said, University of Texas, being the big school that it is, generally each conference or each league has their own TV network, and the TV rights are sort of shared throughout evenly. Now in the Big 12, we have the Longhorn Network, which is the UT Longhorns essentially um, took over the TV rights to make their own channel. And in regards to the way that the TV rights pay out, it is very, very, very heavily advantageous for the Longhorns. So, so for that reason alone, I know some teams or some fans that I've spoken to have been, you know what, then go ahead, have them leave. We will end up getting more money in the long run. So it is a good thing for that. I've seen some folks say that the Big 12 is just going to fall apart, and all the teams are just going to end up going to different conferences now. So I guess the conundrum about that is that even though you have multiple leagues or conferences, you have 5 big ones that are considered to be the Power Five, right? So you have the SEC, you have the Big 12, you have the Pac-12, which is in the Pacific Northwest or actually western part of the country. You have the ACC, and then you have the Big Ten. So on that end, um, the big controversy around what was the 4 spots in the football playoffs was that you always had one big conference missing out. So even and you had sometimes independent schools too. I remember there was a year where UCF won, I think, all their games and they didn't make playoffs. That was a big deal, right? There was a controversy around the first football playoffs. When you had Ohio State come in with the same record that Baylor and TCU did. Now, So it really does make you wonder if it's going to be one of those things where is the Big 12 going to dissolve, or will the Big 12 go ahead and adopt different teams, right? I've seen that as a scenario as well. So, I guess we'll definitely see. I see personally what I predict will happen will be the Big 12 is just going to adopt a few other teams like University of Houston, possibly University of UCF or Notre Dame, who is independent as well. So I guess we'll see. I think a little bit of a chat between a Longhorns fan and an A&M fan and the comments there.
I'll get them both on at the same time later on, 100%. Because it'll be interesting to obviously hear. Like I said, from across the pond, I'm here to learn. Obviously it's a massive deal, and hence why we've done this show. Just addressing the comments as you can see. So United community in the house. Thank you, Vanessa, for your comments as well. Go Santiago.
I appreciate that. I love the support there.
David, I'm going to even speak to you actually because we've got an upcoming, we're going to do a series of shows here on USI where it's kind of like a 101. So it's like a beginner's guide to specific sports. So next week will be college football, that beginner's guide. We want to do an NHL one. We want to do an NFL one, Major League Baseball, NBA, and it's just for those fans out there over on my side of the pond who may not understand how the sport works inside and out and such. So it'll be great to have you on, David, to talk NHL and such. So I just wanted to ask a question on this because obviously, like I said, it's such a big deal. Do you think you mentioned other clubs might or other teams might want to move on? Do you think this will affect other sports as well?
Yeah, no, I mean, this isn't just a football issue. I mean, football is predominantly the biggest sport, but I mean, you have basketball as well. So, for example, I mean, not to toot my own horn or anything, but you have the champions here now.
The champs.
But you have other programs like Kansas who are really, really good at basketball. So this is going to affect across all sports. It's not just football. Now, the big talking point about football is because football season, like I said, biggest sport, and it's also about the season is getting ready to kick off at the end of August. So that's why it's such a big talking point. Now, I think there's also some questions around the money issue with players, right? The SEC being one of the most, if not the most marketable league across college football. Yeah, I think Oklahoma and UT want a piece of that pie. I think if I'm being 100% honest, I know Alabama's coach mentioned one of their quarterbacks who hasn't even played yet. He has $1 million deals and endorsements yet, and he sort of called it out as a maybe kind of like a selling point. If you come to Alabama, you're going to make money, right? So, and I'm sure that being a huge selling point, I know we've talked about, in college football, you do have some fluidity because I think a college program's recruiting is probably one of the toughest jobs because at most your players will only stay with you for 4 years, maybe 5.
Yeah.
But so you have this constant changing roster, and I think on that end, like I said, the NIL rules might go ahead and just bring back some of these programs.
Oh wow. It seems like this is gonna have major implications across the country, which I'm definitely gonna make sure I'm tuning in, and especially obviously when you said the new season starts at the end of the month. That's definitely something that I'm gonna be looking forward to. And just the last question on regarding Texas and Oklahoma. How do you think each side will do moving to the SEC?
I think they're going to come in. If they come in, they're going to come in as a package deal. I don't think that they will. I think it'll eventually happen. I think there's, I guess, really the honest answer is I don't know how it's going to work out. I think maybe Texas and Oklahoma are hoping that the Big 12 just dissolves so they don't have to worry about those contract payouts or wait until 2025, if that makes sense. So it really just depends, and to, to go, further along on that, I know the Big 12 conference actually sent ESPN a cease and desist letter, which is, for those of you that might not know, it is a letter, a legal document, essentially requesting that they stop reporting or that they stop, covering some of those issues there, just because it's such a sensitive topic.
Right. Okay. Well, Bradley's always in here, just with some.
Big up, Bradley.
Welcome, Bradley. So it's all about what divisions will be placed in.
Yeah, that's true. You have so the SEC does have a Western and an Eastern division. So I think that the Western division is a little bit heavier when it comes to football. But I guess we'll see. Now, it's interesting too, because I know in one of the previous episodes we had talked about how much of a positive the college players being able to earn money was going to be. But
Yeah.
if I'm going to be perfectly honest, I did not see those impacts to just be so sudden and so big on that end.
This is it. Let's just hope it doesn't affect their willingness to want to make the league. Because obviously now there's going to be so much money pumped into college football. I hope it's not as sensible. I mean, obviously the league is the be all and end all, really, but complacency could kick in a sense. So let's hope that doesn't happen.
This is it, yeah.
Okay. Moving on. So I believe this is to do with COVID.
Yeah.
Right.
So this is a big ruling here. Now I've looked for it. I personally haven't been able to see a list out, but the NFL had essentially put it in place that players had until July 1st to go ahead and submit that they were going to sit out for the season. Now, the reasoning behind this is because, of course, COVID breakouts, we've seen them happen in preseason for the Premier League. So that does, it is a concern still. But in regards to the NFL, I know that the NFL plans on fining players and potentially finding programs who are deemed responsible for breaking certain restrictions, or if there's something happens where they have to either delay or cancel a game. And so essentially this program was just sort of set in place to those players that maybe frankly were just like, okay, I don't want to be held responsible for this. I'm not sure. I know that they have about an 85% vaccination goal. I don't know where each team might be around there, but it is sort of an interesting thing. I did see too that the players won't actually have what's it called? Oh my gosh, they won't get wages. So they were getting some sort of commission last season if they sat out, just for it being such an unprecedented time. But if they opted to sit out, they wouldn't be getting paid on that end. Now, as far as endorsements and everything, of course, that is a separate entity on its own.
So obviously this is down to player choice now,
Mhm.
regarding sitting out. However, and this is where I want to try and get a bit of clarity. If they're sitting out because of kind of thinking about others' players' safety, don't you think that's a bit harsh to then not pay them?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. I think with the sort of at this point, I guess it becomes on your outlook on the pandemic and COVID. I know that there are some folks who might be concerned about the vaccines, or there might be some folks who are they could be players who are high at risk. Now I know that the high at risk players, um, they have some sort of like exception to the rule. I believe. I might be wrong though, because I did see that some of them were going to be. I think if they do get COVID, they have some sort of compensation for that. Um, so yeah, but I mean, it sort of boils down on whether you think that's a business choice. I mean, um, I guess they're sitting out for the concerns of others, but they wouldn't be doing anything towards the team, right? So on that end, I don't know. I mean, like I said, it is a good moral question. Was that right on the NFL to do so, um,
Yeah,
or is it right to keep players, on their wages when they're not playing? So I guess it's kind of the moral dilemma there.
sure. Well, we'll see how this one plays out. I believe was it Hard Knock should be on tonight innit, as well. So I'm going to
Yeah.
be keeping an eye out for that. Dallas Cowboys should be fun. Should be fun. All right. Now, and this one, I'm glad Dave's in the chat. Seattle are the new team, the Krakens. They're the new team in the NHL. They were able to have their own draft. But you know what was weird? Like, because I've got Bleacher Report and such.
Mhm.
All the notifications that came up were like, surprising pick here, surprising, as if like, because when we spoke before, there was a worry that they were just going to pick all the best free agents from the other teams, and I don't actually think that's happened.
Yeah. So this one, I think again from our last stream, I think we were expecting a craziness to happen in the NHL. They had the ability of picking that one player from every team's roster. Now each team, could protect a certain amount of players, but you had some big names on there. And to me, from what I saw, it looks like the Kraken went very, very safe. Is the I guess the best term for it. Now they did pick up the Calgary Flames captain in Giordano, who is a defensive defenseman, and they did pick up some good players like Fleury as well too. So it looks like to me like they went safe. They got a good defense, but I watch hockey, as much as the next guy, but to be frank, I don't really even recognize some of the names that the people they picked. I don't see any of the offense being really great, right?
Yeah,
So it'll be interesting to see how this new expansion team goes on in the league.
fair enough. I guess like everyone's going to be rooting against them anyway, seeing as they're like the new kids on the block. So yeah, this NHL season will be interesting, and I was glad to hear that David put in the chat that it's a great idea, and we'll definitely have him on to actually give a little lowdown as to how the NHL works, what the rules are, what you can and can't do and stuff. It'll be great
Mhm.
for newbies like me. who doesn't. So I don't just see the game as wow, this is fast paced. You know, it'd be so great to know about the nuances, the ins and the outs and such. And yes, to my mate Bradley, I do see your comments, mate. Bradley, trolling as always. Trolling as always. Moving on, we'll go quite thick and fast with the rest of these, because we want to obviously get people to call in. This is why we do these shows. Now you brought me up to speed with this one. Let me go and read what was said actually.
Yeah.
Because I think it's going to give a bit more context.
Absolutely.
Now, I didn't know this had happened. However, let me just think. Actually, let me put it on the right. So
For those of you in the popcorn gang, you may want to grab a little bit of popcorn for this one.
Absolutely. I mean, I just had mine before I went on Hamza's stream, so I've run out. But I'm going to read this out. Okay. So it says, Evander Kane has just been traded to the doghouse. Now, I believe I don't know if it's girlfriend, wife.
It looks like might have been his wife.
Okay, right. So it says, so you leave July 8th. You do not call or text at all for 7 days. Then you inform me you are going to Europe for a vacation. Must be nice. But at the same time, you tell me our house is being taken by the bank, but do not come home to help your pregnant wife pack or help her with anything at all. You have enough money to party and stay in hotels in Europe. Oh, my camera. Oh, there we go, we're back. So you have enough money to party and stay in hotels in Europe, go to dinners every night, but I can't buy my daughter formula and you force me to sell my wedding ring to have any money to survive as you party every day, every night. Never calling your daughter and never asking, not even one time, how I'm doing by myself. I don't know if there are even words to describe the kind of evil person that you are, to abandon your wife who is pregnant with your son and your 1-year-old daughter who walked around the house with her bunny saying, Dada, for a week looking for you. Don't post old pictures like you're home or like you're with her. Everyone knows the type of person you are. Wow.
Yeah. So those are big. That's a big claim. And I know that immediately the NHL, went ahead and I think they posted. Was it yesterday? Today? I mean, it's a very, very new and developing story, but they said that they were aware of that Instagram post, regarding Evander Kane, and they were going to be doing a full investigation. So, on that end, I wasn't able to tell, where the source came from. I just saw the screenshot of it. So, if it's, if it really truly is, his wife or his girlfriend, partner, and those accusations are true, then, that's kind of a terrible person,
Yeah,
for anything.
absolutely. It's shocking. And I know obviously the league have said that they're looking into it, they're investigating as well. So definitely going to keep our eyes out on that.
Yeah.
Next topic, NBA draft. Now this is a big deal. This is normally a big deal. I honestly I had to ask Santi about this because I had no idea that a player could be picked as a draft pick, go up, pick up the hat, stand with what's his name? Adam. What's the commissioner's name again?
Gosh.
Remind me in the comments, please.
Now I'm
It's
blanking.
gone up my head. I just remember I could see his glasses and bald head. But then not actually play for that team. It's a bit confusing regarding like the draft and the trading system.
Yeah. So I mean, they can get drafted to a specific team and then later on get traded on that end. And that is something that can happen. So I think one of the big kind of a I don't know, I guess kind of a want to call out point that I saw around that is the J League, NBA J League. So it's kind of a sort of like a side league there. Um, they had some big names on there. They had the number 2 and number 7 spot. They're teenagers. They essentially decided to go ahead and bypass the collegiate system, right? And so they were already getting a paycheck. But Jalen Green, he was the number 2 pick by the Rockets, and Jonathan Kuminga, he was number 7 by Golden State Warriors. So on that end, it was they really just came in with some heavy hitters with that. And I think it was a 3 overall. The other one was Isaiah Todd, number, I can't remember where he was drafted, but somewhere. I think it was like the first or the second round or something like that. But yeah, it's still kind of pretty big deal. To go ahead and for those kids, right, or those young men that just decided to go against the traditional system. So that was, it's kind of a cool point.
Yeah, and another aspect that I found quite interesting is that some of the first draft picks were when they were announced were obviously abroad. So there was a player from Congo, I believe.
Right. I mean, especially with the Olympics going on and everything. I'm sure there are some players that are representing their own countries too, as well. So yeah, I know that there is a big international representation in the NBA. I didn't realize the extent of it until I started kind of paying attention. Sometimes you think these folks might be some maybe have like immigrant parents, but we're American, but then we really do have some really good talent. I, I guess it would be interesting. I can't say that there's too many other basketball leagues around the world that are prominent like the NBA. So I guess it does make sense,
Yeah,
to have some of those international players.
Cade is a star. Detroit better build around him, and he was the number 1 overall pick.
He was, yeah. I think he played for Oklahoma State. So, yeah, even some really good players. Oklahoma State being a Big 12 member, so to kind of circle back
Wow.
to the that Big 12 conference deal there. And of course, selfishly, we had some players as well, but on our end. So yeah, I mean, it'll be good to see some good players. I know there was the Gonzaga guy, Jalen Suggs. He was he looked good in that tournament. So yeah, it'd be exciting to see what the future holds. I mean, I don't know, comments like, is there a specific draft prospect? Like, who are you most excited about to see in the NBA?
Yeah, that's a great question. Great question. And on that, who do you also put who you think's done the best business
Oh,
in the
yeah.
draft? That'll be interesting to see. So yeah, comment section. Who's the biggest prospect and who's done the best business? And such. Santi, you can answer that as well, actually.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it has to be Davion Mitchell, number 9 draft pick for Sacramento Kings.
The
Not
Kings.
really a team that I follow too much, but I will be keeping an eye on that player. Now, Rich, are there any players that maybe stood out to you, or you think might do well?
I mean, obviously, Cade Cunningham, like I said, kind of trying to follow as much basketball as possible. His name's been touted a lot. Let's have a look at this. I'm really intrigued by Suggs, Julian Suggs. He's gone to the Magic.
Mm-hmm.
There was a bit of noise about him, so I kind of looked into him, to be fair. and such. Got news about it says Mitchell, Big 12 is trash. Cracking or trash.
We're just coming in with the spicy comments there.
Josh, have you got anything to say about that? So the Longhorns are trash. Josh, I've never seen a PG as big as Cade that can move like him. He could be special. No, absolutely. Outside of the draft, Westbrook to the Lakers.
Oh my god. Nope. I remember. I think I texted you when that happened, and I was like, "These Lakers, it's like video game trades. Like, how did they go ahead?" Oh man,
Wait, I
that
think there's more shade
top
being
back
thrown
there.
back. Oh, Josh and David. Listen, let's get through these. I want to hear Josh v.
Funny.
David. That's what I want to be
Funny.
hearing.
The but yeah, no, the oh man, that's funny. That's great. But yeah, I forget what was I saying. That'll be a good debate to have on.
It will be a good debate. Sorry, Santi, you're saying?
I honestly, I completely blanked on what we were
We're talking Westbrook.
Oh yes. So Westbrook, yeah. I mean, it's like video game trades. Like, you know, what? To be fair, I don't know how they're going to handle so much ego in the locker room. Westbrook and LeBron on the same team, like,
Yeah,
okay. But so that'll be an interesting. Of course, going with the NBA, you do have some. You know, um, go ahead and building some super teams there now. So on that end, like just gonna go ahead and I'm trying to like not look at the banter in the comments here because it's just distracting. But um, so it'll be interesting. I don't know how the heck they got just rid of just 3 players like that. I think
yeah.
that's some good business in the way that they went ahead and did it. Now, yeah, I mean, I guess what are your thoughts around that?
And I was shocked, like absolutely shocked. I was like, "What? Westbrook as well, on top of AD and LeBron?" And then I thought to myself, they've just strengthened. Brooklyn are going to obviously want to right their wrongs. So it makes me think the likes of Phoenix and the Bucks, who obviously did amazing to get to the NBA Finals this time round, they've got a lot of work to do. Because
Yeah.
Brooklyn and LA right now,
Yeah.
I'm going to stick my neck out and say that's the NBA Final.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't know. I'm not really too big of a fan of these like NBA super teams,
No,
but at the same time, it's fun to see them. Sort of like you get that, uh, that kind of like all-star games, but on the regular.
absolutely. And I would love to hear some more of it. So you keep it going. I absolutely love it.
Yeah. Now, I know that I think um, in UK terms, that's third year, right? So they're going to be since what 7 or 8 years old. So yeah, so that's what third grade means on that end.
I guess that puts this into context. It's tradition.
Yeah. So yeah, pretty much.
So the Lakers, they've addressed none of their needs. No one can shoot, and AD can't stay healthy. Yeah, AD's fitness is a problem actually.
Yeah.
That
I
is a
mean,
big problem.
I guess on that end, and like I said, you're gonna have to be managing some egos. It makes you wonder if it was one of those trades just for shirt sales.
Could be, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, for Westbrook looking at it, thinking, listen, I've not won a chip yet. I've not won a ring. this could be my best chance, you know. So
Mhm.
it'll be interesting. It will be very, very interesting. How many more topics you got? 3. We'll whiz through these. Gold Cup. Your boys are doing all right.
Yeah, yeah. And so, the semifinals were the U.S. Versus Qatar. So big up to the upcoming world hosts for getting to the semifinals. It was um, a tight game. I think it went to the 86th minute or so, where the U.S. were finally able to break the score. They ended up winning 1-0. And then on the flip side of that, you had um, Canada and Mexico. Very tight game as well. I think there was a lot of folks that were writing off Canada because they came into this game with a lot of injuries, but they stuck to their plan. They made it difficult for Mexico. Uh, it came down to it was a 90 plus goal from Hector Herrera, who plays for Atletico Madrid, to finally make it 2-1. There was some drama too. There was a missed penalty, all sorts of things. So it was a good game. If you didn't have a chance to catch that.
Now, I've missed a few of the games recently. Got kind of sidetracked by the Olympics, um, which has been interesting in itself. But yeah, and I reckon this is Mexico's Gold Cup. Yeah, it just has to be.
I think it'll be an exciting final. Talking about the final, I know they did move it to the stadium, so they did move it out of Columbus. Now, you know, Mexico did bring their A team. A lot of the U.S. players, I know we've talked about this, sort of their third team, sort of like their C team. So on that end, I think it'll still be a tight game, but I'm still going to go ahead and give Mexico the edge on that one.
Absolutely. And I believe the Mexicans are doing all right in the Olympics too. The men are
Yeah,
in the semi-final of this competition too.
they are. Yeah. So on that end, Bradley is just doing a madness in the comment.
Yes, I'm trying to ignore it.
But yeah, so on that end of the Olympics, you have Spain and Japan. So again, the host nation, and then on the flip side, you have Mexico and Brazil. Now, uh, I think this will be a replay of the 2012 final between Mexico and Brazil. I know that there was a little bit of banter there. I think Danny Alves made some sort of comment about being happy for Mexico doing well, and was saying hope we get to play them in the final.
Yeah,
Um, and of course that was an interview question for one of the Mexican players, who said, who was asked if he was scared of playing Brazil, and his response was a little bit funny because he was like, "Oh, scared of Brazil? No, I'm not scared of anybody except maybe my mom." So, um,
Daniel has got better for days. To be fair, he really has. But it's been a very interesting tournament. I mean, normally the Olympics doesn't get the coverage it deserves.
mhm,
But this time around, I think it has, and you can see that there's a lot of talent that's going to come out of these tournaments. I was very surprised to see Ivory Coast capitulate the way they did in extra time against Spain. You know,
yeah,
obviously they scored in the 91st minute to take the lead, and then conceded 2 minutes later. you know, it's absolute chaos. But
mhm,
that's football for you, and that's the game we love. But just very briefly regarding other important factors in the Olympics, big up to the Jamaicans, the women who got a 1-2-3. Very interesting quote that came out after that. Hold on, let me just get this up. Now, You get some real idiots on Twitter. You really do.
Yeah, Twitter being Twitter.
Twitter being Twitter. Now, I'm not going to name the person because they don't need recognition like that. But they tweeted after Jamaica's 1-2-3 in the 100 meters. So we're supposed to believe a country with around 3 million people is producing this number of world-class sprinters cleanly. The probability of that kind of greatness grouping seems extremely low. I'm skeptical. It's look
Yeah.
at your own country and think, why are you not doing as well? How are you now judging Jamaica as a nation just because they've only got around 3 million people, yet they produce the best sprinters? Think about why they're producing the best sprinters. Every nation has their trade.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it was just an absolutely stupid comment. But haters are going to hate it.
Yeah,
Haters are going to hate it. And
absolutely.
yeah, Vanessa, that's Bradley for you. He's, you know what? Love to Bradley, to be honest. He's a massive. He's just banter in the comments. Don't take it too personally. Don't get offended. He's actually the one that helped me start my channel as well. So he just loves to be silly in the chat. But we've got so much love for him. You know what? And on that note, follow his channel, United Fan TV. I can't with the trolling. You know, it's all banter. It really is all banter and such. He's a good lad. He really is. And so you know, let's open the lines. Actually, we've done enough talking, to be honest. And
Yeah.
I'm
You know,
sure
and
wanna...
on the back end of the Olympic game thing, I mean, you have people like Usain Bolt, who paved the way for them. So you generally do have nations who do have that specific thing that they're good at, especially when you have a standout, specific athlete. Suddenly you do get a lot more following in a general area because of that athlete.
This is it, and like it's Usain obviously like they've always obviously had a lot of sprinters beforehand before Usain Bolt and such, but because of Usain Bolt, the amount of kids that he's influenced to want to be sprinters, the amount of Jamaican athletes who may have been like, I don't know if I could continue this, now might have given themselves an extra 10-15%. That's the
Absolutely.
reason why. No one, I don't know where he's from, this person, but let's just say he's American, or even if he was British. Americans had their time. They had their season where Maurice Green, no one would beat him.
Michael Phelps, right?
Michael Jordan. Like America had this, and they still are producing talent, world class athletes. Not so much England, but let's see what they think. All right, England are good at cycling. That's something that they're really good at. You also look at swimming. They're decent at. Yeah, the Rebecca Adlington and stuff. So every nation's going to have something they're good at. That's just hate.
Yeah, no, it really is. I mean, I table tennis, with China, you have like all sorts of different things. I know that I was actually bantering with some of my friends because, I was talking about Mexico being in the Olympics, and they want to go ahead and we're like, oh, how many medals do they have? And I was like, let me look at the rankings, and I was like, well, they have 3 bronze medals. They're just like, get out of here. So yeah, a little bit more motivation for that Mexican soccer team.
I can't compose myself. Someone call it, please, and take over. I can't. Oh man. Yeah, guys, the links in the chat. It'll be amazing if you can come in and join the conversation. Sorry, Bradley, man. Oh man. whilst we're waiting for people to jump in, let's just talk generic. What's your thoughts on Manchester United at the moment?
On Manchester United, I'm excited, to see what the what they do. I mean, finally, it looks like Varane is going to be doing his medical next week, so that's oh my God, I'm so happy to see that. If they can get a defensive midfielder, then that'll be a good team to to actually like challenge for the title there. Now, hey, Bradley, just as an FYI, Ireland do have 1 gold medal in the Olympics and 2 bronze medals, so they're technically ranked above Mexico still. So if anybody wants to just throw out some random countries, I'm happy to share with the medal count.
And you know what? I think Vanessa was definitely emphasizing that point here.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, fair play. Like we, sometimes as fans we get carried away and we just go ahead and like to just talk smack on other people's players or athletes. But to be fair, I mean, to get to the Olympics and get a medal on its own, like that warrants a lot.
It's a big deal. Yeah, absolutely a big deal.
Did you, speaking on the Olympics, and feel free to chime in the comments too. Did you guys see the cardboard beds that they gave them?
Oh
no! So at the Olympic Village, they had all the beds are made out of cardboard, and so there was definitely.
Wait, was this the news that to try and prevent them from, enjoying themselves?
yes. Yeah. So there was some, on the betting thing. I think I don't know if that's a myth or if it's true. I mean, I think the the running joke was that it was to prevent them from those extra curricular activities. Now, so it's kind of been an interesting Olympics. I'm sure for some people.
Absolutely. I'm gonna bring David in the chat. Good evening, David.
Hey boys, how's it going?
Good.
Right, before you start, David, I'm gonna switch off my camera and switch it back on again. So I'm gonna leave it for a couple of seconds.
Yeah, I had a bit of a lag there. I don't know why. It might be my internet, to be honest.
I know that.
Am I still lagging?
I can see you. I think your camera might be having a little bit of a lag though.
Let's see if it'll catch up here. Sorry, guys. I don't mean to be laggy. Yeah, but hey, great chat today. It's been awesome as usual. Lots of good topics. And yeah, I guess mainly I just want to comment on the hockey stuff and that more of the Seattle Kraken, not so much the Evander Kane thing, because that's just a fucking nightmare. Sorry. But yeah. I'm all excited for the Longhorns coming in like to the SEC. Yeah. That's gonna be great. Hey, there's Josh.
Hey.
I'm all excited for the Longhorns coming in like to the SEC. That's gonna be great. Hey, there's Josh. Hey.
I had to join this one. I have 2 people in here who went to junior high with.
Josh, I think you've got a second device playing.
I had to join this one. I have 2 people in here who went to junior high with.
Josh, I think you've got a second device playing.
Me?
Yeah, I think you might have to. Someone's got YouTube in the background, which might need to be muted.
I don't know. I haven't done anything.
I wonder if maybe it was David's.
Because
it just
I think we're all good.
kept on playing.
We're all good. Welcome.
That's
Josh.
weird.
Welcome to USI. What did you want to talk about?
Anything and everything, man. I noticed I had 2 people that I went to junior high school in here with. I couldn't stay out of this one. Especially we're all rival schools. I'm the only one that didn't go to the school that, I'm a diehard fan of. Dave loves to give me flack about that, but he's got a Baylor fan up there. He's an A&M fan. We always have a good time. So I did want to touch a little bit on the UT and OU to the SEC thing. I'm one of those UT fans that, first of all, no one saw this coming. Like, we all just woke up one day and saw UT OU talks with SEC, and we're just kind of like, what? And apparently it's been going on for from the reports that I read, I couldn't even tell you the source, but these talks have been going on between UT and OU for the past 6 months without anybody's knowledge. How it didn't leak in today's social media era, I have no clue. My initial take is complete disappointment because we can't even win the Big 12. Oh, Dave's going to love this conversation. Look at him. He's over there about to be, oh yeah, he's about to smile big time because we're pretty much on the same floor of it. We can't even win the Big 12 right now. We have a lot of great players. That was a big deal with Tom Herman. We always land a top 5, top 10 recruiting class. Our recruiting is always been great, but Tom Herman did not know how to develop that talent. So Steve Sarkisian has a plethora of amazing talent to work with, but we're nowhere near, and we're not going until 2025 anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not this year or anything. That's mine. I thought it was 2025 because you can't just change it up like that fast. Stuff. I'm sorry.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
But I was disappointed to hear it. I'm a little nervous. The one thing that I can speak for is our recruiting speaks for itself year after year. We have the talent, but Tom Herman just couldn't develop it. I'm going to say it right now on your show. I'm calling it. You can hold me to it. Record it. Bijan Robinson will be heading for the Heisman this year. 100%. That's one reason Tom Herman got fired is he was so conservative with Bijan Robinson. Steve Sarkisian is going to develop this kid. He's going to be disgusting. Watch him this year.
Okay, the bold prediction.
It's bold, but I'm saying it. I buy it.
No, but Josh is right. I mean, we are kind of honestly, we're rivals school-wise. Love the guy. We're great friends, but school-wise rivals. But what I'm saying is we're in the same boat as far as we haven't been able to win the SEC since we've been in since 2012, I believe. And
10?
The long was it? I mean, somewhere around
10,
there.
10 to 12, something like that.
Yeah, and like you said, the Longhorns haven't been able to really win the Big 12 at least for a little while here. So I did have I was just curious because I was trolling earlier in the comments about okay, the big dogs in the SEC, I wish it was A&M, but it's not. Honestly, it's Alabama, right? And they've won all those national championships and everything else. So I went and looked back at the history. Of course, it's been 28 years since the Longhorns have played the Crimson Tide, but they have, I believe, a 7-0-1 record. Essentially, the Longhorns have a really good record against Alabama. I was like, God damn it.
Except in the national championship. But we won't. I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah,
I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it.
One loss I was looking at. But yeah, so that's kind of interesting. It's been 30 years, so you don't get any credit for that. But but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Oklahoma and UT stack up against those the big dogs in the SEC. And like you said, it's going to depend on which division they land in. I do, being honest and not just tooting the A&M horn, I think that competition wise, the Aggies are pretty close to the Longhorns and the Sooners, I suppose. I mean, as objectively as possible, even though I'm subjective on the subject, I think that they're a little bit of a step ahead just in terms of the competition that they've been facing for a while now. You were just touching on the fact that Longhorns can't even take the Big 12 and the competition there. I mean, they play Kansas every year, and Kansas is trash at football. Anyway, they're great at basketball, like Honty mentioned earlier. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. Baylor is good at both sports, really, and they've been like solid. I mean, they just won the national championship in basketball, but they've had a solid football program for a while. And then, who am I missing? Who the frogs, the Horned Frogs? What school?
TCU.
TCU.
Yeah.
TCU. Yeah. There you go. They're pretty solid too. But besides that, I mean, the Big 12 really doesn't have. I mean, it's Kansas and I guess is Colorado still in the Big 12 or
No.
Big 10. They left with Nebraska, I think.
TCU? Yeah. So it's been dissolving. You know, I don't think that this is really.
It's been dissolving.
Yeah,
it's been dissolving because it's. I think it's turned more into a basketball school anyway. You know, KU is always the monster that never makes it, but they'll always upset somebody. You always have to be at least concerned about KU. You can almost, guarantee they're not going to win a national championship. It's almost like a curse for them.
Yeah.
But you can guarantee that. Watch out for Texas this year. We got Texas Tech's coach Beard. A lot of his Tech players that he recruited over there are in the transfer portal coming to Texas. Just picked up a 5-star, I believe. I'm not too keen on college hoops, but there's a lot of hype surrounding Texas this year, and there's really not. It hasn't been that way, I guess, for college basketball at least. We're always overrated in football. Extremely overrated in football. I'll tell you that much.
Just a question. Like I said, I'm loving listening to you talk because I'm just learning. I'm trying to soak it all in and just learn. So once this move does happen, how does it will be Big 10 now, wouldn't it? Become how do they stay relevant? The so-called Big 12.
That's the question. I don't know if they can.
I don't know either because, to be honest with you, I had an idea that I think it's TCU, Oklahoma State, Baylor, and I think I said I don't know who it was. Someone. They're all great fits for the Pac-12. They're amazing fits for the Pac-12. You could literally just dissolve the entire Big 12. Don't get rid of it. You can make it there's so many conferences out there that we aren't even thinking of right now. It could just be one of those conferences. But what we're seeing, guys, is a monumental shift, not just in college football, but across all sports to cover COVID losses. In my opinion, it's always a money grab. That's what's happening. You're looking at a 17-game season for the NFL. Finally, we get the expanded playoff that we've always wanted, 12 teams. Finally, that happens.
Finally.
NIL rules are all of a sudden, a big, huge thing. That's the big thing is I think Texas and OU, not only do they bring a hell of a lot of money in for they're going to renew the A&M UT rivalry, and they're going to have Red River within your conference. You're adding those two monstrous rivalries to your conference, and they don't need those. They already have monstrous rivalries. After that LSU Texas A&M game, I'm convinced that LSU Texas A&M are new rivals. That's a new rivalry for me.
Oh yeah.
Just to clarify, Red River are.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I'm sorry. Oklahoma and Texas. Texas OU.
Gotcha.
So yeah,
those have been some of the biggest college rivalries in college football history. You always have the State Fair of Texas up there, Texas OU. I can never afford to go. I think it's like the Fire Festival for college football. Only rich people can go there. But it's always an awesome game, no matter how good or bad either one's doing. I mean, we beat the Kyler Murray Oklahoma Sooners, and I don't want to hear any boomer Sooners talking about the SEC when they go to the playoffs every year and they get bounced 56-0. Like, what? Dude, you're a lock to lose.
Yeah.
If there's anybody in here who's a Sooner fan, I'll gladly debate you. I'll come on, let's go.
I will say fair play to the Oklahoma Sooners.
I'm gonna be chanting SEC now. So.
Oh boy. Oh,
yeah.
No, not
and you might as well, man. You might as well.
My fiance, by the way, is an LSU fan. So if we're going to be playing on a yearly basis, this domestic violence, I don't know. Yeah. It's gonna be a weird
Oh
time.
my
I
god!
like to say we don't advocate for domestic violence out here, but no, but obviously the rivalry, the rivalry must be huge. Let's do what I
Oh,
did,
it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome.
My wife lives in Wembley, and so she was QPR. Just what are you doing? Keep nonsense. Just come on, Palace. Let's get some Palace thing. There you go. Here's a top. There you go. Your Palace now.
Happens to be LSU beating that ass every year.
Oh my god! See, it's already. Did you hear that? Did y'all hear that?
Yes, we did.
Hey, we already did it once.
Oh my!
Okay, it was a good game at least.
We also won the Natty that year though too. So
Yeah, we beat the best team ever.
Josh needs to be on this more.
I agree.
Oh my gosh!
Josh,
No, I just want to touch real quick on the Pac-12 comment that you made, Josh. Like, I like the idea, and I do think that they could like either absorb some other teams, I don't know who, or possibly like merge into another conference. I don't think that the Pac-12 would work simply just because of the time changes. That the kid like that the I mean the I lived out there in Oregon, and like it's like I could barely even get on the phone with anybody out here in Texas. It's a big country, dude. Like, and so I just don't know if those time frames would work for the like UT fans watching a game against Oregon at friggin' 12 p.m. Rich is over here like I'm awake at 3 a.m. on these chats all the time, so I don't know what you're talking about. But yeah, I just don't know if if that time change would work. But I like the idea in general about just.
It's crazy to think about. To me, it's really crazy to think about because this is all happening so fast.
Yeah.
No one saw this coming. I honestly didn't even see an expanded playoff coming, let alone a 12-team expanded playoff. I just wanted an Elite Eight.
Yeah. No, I didn't mean to interrupt you. When is that happening? The expanded playoffs?
Is it in
2023 or something like that?
Yeah, I think it's in 2
years.
Is it in 2 years? 3 years? Something like that?
So. Yeah, I think
so. We have one more year of 4.
Yes.
I think.
Yes.
Okay.
4 is just too little. 4 is just too little. I think there's a lot of great teams within the top 10. I wanted an Elite 8. They gave us a 12-man, so we'll see how that goes.
It's weird that they can pull that off before they can pull off the transition to the SEC for two schools.
See, no, but we're not done with this transition stuff, though. This is not the last big move that's going to happen. I think a lot more is going to be condensed. I think a lot of schools are going to start doing this type of thing. I think Notre Dame is actually applying for the ACC now. Don't hold me to that because they're independent and they've been very prideful of that. But
they're slowly limiting the committee.
Yeah, I think they're trying to get into the ACC, which is good for college football. It always made everybody mad when they were playing one less game than everybody else.
Yeah, they're overhyped always. I think we were talking about that a few episodes ago, actually. But
it's funny you say that because I was asking what team I should actually look out for to support. I've been to a Notre Dame game. Fortunately, when I was coaching in Chicago, I got invited to one, and it was unreal. Such an unreal experience. But everyone was like, "Nah, they're rubbish." So, Josh, if I was to as a kind of a newbie to this, who would you say I should look out for as a team
in college football?
Yeah.
Don't say Texas.
Everybody says Texas, and it makes me so mad because it's never Texas. We're the team to lose to Maryland, but then play LSU like it's the national championship. I don't get it. I don't know.
So I'll talk trash on myself too.
Clemson's monstrous recruiting class is now being fully developed by this time, and they're still developing these monsters. I think Clemson Clemson's not going away anytime soon. I like their new quarterback or their backup quarterback to Trevor Lawrence. I can't pronounce his name. It starts with a U, something like that. I think he's a really talented kid, though. I think one player to look out for is Kayvon Thibodeau. I followed his recruiting a couple years ago, mainly because Texas was in the mix for him, but he ended up choosing Oregon, and Oregon gets no playtime whatsoever. Watch out for Kayvon Thibodeau. I think he's going to be a top 5 pick in this NFL draft.
Oregon's a fun school to follow. They have fancy uniforms, and I was out there in Portland for a few years.
They're endorsed by Nike, if I'm not mistaken. They always have the most intimidating, uniforms on, and they're always fresh, like week to week. It's awesome.
Yeah,
I think Jordan does that for North Carolina.
New uniform. They never wear the same uniform ever. They have a new one designed for every single game they ever play.
God forbid you have to wear the same one twice.
Wow.
Yeah, they actually auction them all off too to like keep that going.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I've got like 3-4 weeks to get myself really up to speed before the season starts.
I tell you what. I did make a comment before about Luka Doncic over there killing it in Slovenia.
Yeah.
I might be a little bit biased here because I'm a big Mavs fan, but when you've been balling since in the pros since you were like 17 years old, you come to the Mavericks and you absolutely dominate the league. This guy is the next face of the league, in my opinion. Luka Doncic is absolutely insane. He's over there in Slovenia changing cultures and winning games. It's extremely impressive. I can't wait to see what he does and the pieces we put around him for sure.
My only question on Doncic is like, and of course I'm biased in the opposite way because I'm a Rockets fan, and of course we're rivals on like everything, Josh. But
that's what makes discussions, though, is it not?
He is, yeah, for sure. No, he is undoubtedly great, undoubtedly talented. I'm not sure how old is he right now.
21, 22. He just turned 22.
I'm not sure how well he's gonna age. He looks like he lumbers out there. He's so heavy.
Unathletic.
It's so weird. His feet constantly look stuck in quicksand, and he has such trouble running. But then when he pushes it like into an extra gear, he can just like sink shots, and it doesn't matter. But I'm just curious to see how well he's gonna age. He doesn't look like he's in very good shape. I don't know. So that's the only negative side. The guy's talent is through the roof, but I just don't know how well he's like conditioned.
I agree, and I say that because this guy. Look, as a Mavs fan, I love seeing him get the triple doubles. I'm a big triple double fan because when you're the ultimate team player, in my opinion. You're scoring points for your team. Especially when it's an assist, you're passing the ball, you're getting boards. But I don't necessarily love the fact that my star player is crashing the boards almost every other play to come down with a rebound. Why is Kristaps Porzingis such a little, role player on the boards?
I was going to ask about Porzingis because it seems like he didn't have the best of seasons.
Oh, okay. So, oh my God. When we signed KP, the unicorn, I was ecstatic. I knew he wanted to get out of New York. I knew he was a beast. I knew he was going to be great after the ACL. I didn't know jack. All right. He came back, and I'm not necessarily saying that he was a bad player, and I still don't think Kristaps Porzingis is a bad player. But when you talk about expectations, you paid the man how much money? What was it, $100 million contract? Your expectations are huge. They're enormous. That means that we see something in you that nobody else does. Yeah. So when you give him a name, the unicorn, he does what he did in New York, you paid him all this money, and then we go out and get Luka Doncic. Well, it was vice versa. He's going to meet with Luka Doncic. Like, that's that was a filthy combination in my eyes, and it just didn't work out that way. He just never got back to his old self, and I don't know if that old self is going to show again. He's frustrated with the team, and quite frankly, I'm frustrated that he's the second tallest man in the NBA. He's not coming down with 10 boards a night.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why is he shooting the three more times than he's coming down with a board, especially in a clear lane?
Yeah, you got a point.
It's been a disappointment.
I even noticed that, and I live in the UK.
Yeah.
I'm just like, something's wrong here. What are you doing?
Well, we're the Euro team, man. We're the total Euro team. We had KP from he's from like Lithuania.
Yeah.
We've got Luka from Slovenia. We've got Maxi Kleba from Germany. He's a nice player. He's a nice 3 or 4.
Lithuania is technically the Baltics, right? Is that Europe still?
I don't even know where it is.
Sorry,
I don't
my
know.
computer is freaking out.
It does kind of like border the Baltic, which is very close to Asia as well, but it is kind of considered as Eastern Europe.
Okay. That area kind of confuses me. It gets sketchy. I'm like, wait, what?
It is very confusing.
Yeah.
Well, they got some ballers over there. You know, I'm not necessarily saying that KP is a bad player. All I'm saying is it's the same opinion that I have as a Cowboys fan on Dak Prescott. Is when you get paid a certain amount of money, especially you're getting paid money that when you haven't even reached the accolades that people have reached to get that money. We just believe in you. The expectations are unreal. They're unbelievable. Yeah. And KP just hasn't even come close to meeting those expectations in my book.
And how do you think the Mavs will do this year?
It's going to all depend on this free agency. We're gonna sign Luka to his extension. It's going to be an enormous amount of money. He's going to ball out, but it's all going to depend on the pieces that we put around him. This year's free agency isn't the richest free agency. I think personally we need a big guy that can defend. I don't care if he shoots. We have a lot of shooters. I need a Rudy Gobert type of player. What's that?
Dwight Howard?
No, not Dwight Howard. I'd rather not have Dwight Howard. But someone that doesn't, stand at 7'2" and look like a toothpick. I'd like someone that, could play some defense. A Rudy Gobert type of defender. We have no perimeter defense at all.
On the Mavs, I think that they need to. I kind of agree. They need to put those pieces around him soon, because if it's, just by the eye test, like I was saying earlier, it doesn't look like Luka's going to be like the star that he is at like 30 or, 30 plus. So they've got just a few years here, I think, to maximize on his talent, I think Josh was just saying he's like 22-ish.
He's 22. He just turned 22.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, like 8 years to win a ship for them, I think. Honestly, it's not out of the question.
Mark Cuban is he feels very guilty about separating Steve Nash and Dirk Nowitzki, and he's come out and said that he's that's been one of the biggest mistakes he's ever made, was separating those two, and he vowed for it not to happen with KP and Luka. Right. I've heard reports that the Mavs are concerned about what Luka wants long term. I've heard from Mark Cuban himself on Twitter. I think it's quote unquote total bullshit. Sorry, can I cuss on this or?
Yeah.
I wasn't sure earlier. I screwed up.
I did too. Can I cuss on this or?
Yeah, you're good. Go ahead. Okay,
I'm sorry. He came out on Twitter on that report and said that, but of course he's got to save face, especially for the franchise. It's gonna depend on what he wants to do in free agency. The Mavs are not a small market; we're a large market team. But unfortunately, in my opinion, in this super team generation, I don't think markets really matter much anymore. Because if that was the
Look who
case,
just
the Knicks
won.
would be winning the finals every single year.
You're right. You're 100% right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the point of a market anymore? If you don't have a super team already in the process, chances are you ain't getting one anytime soon unless you draft one to get started.
Mhm.
And you can thank Golden State for that. You know, their original team was organically drafted. No one wanted to go to Golden State.
Yeah, and let me switch. That's a really, really great like switching point to hockey, because the hockey free agency just opened up and there's been a lot of action this week as far as the free agency in the NHL. And what you just said about markets is really true, especially in the NHL right now, in the fact that, listen, New York and California, yes, these people are getting paid millions of dollars, but taxes are becoming more and more of a focus point for a lot of these athletes. So going to play in somewhere like Dallas compared to, because this is it's Canada and the US, right? So they have to consider the Canadian teams that 7 Canadian teams that there are kind of up against this challenge right now of trying to get players to want to play for Canadian franchises. They're huge markets. Toronto's a huge market, but the taxes are higher. So why do that? And you look at Tampa Bay, they just won 2 cups and they have all these stars that are taking lower paychecks because they can maximize more on those paychecks without having to get all the taxes taken out. So that's become a huge talking point in the NHL. It's becoming kind of an issue in a way. Now it'd be good to get teams like Arizona better because they haven't been very competitive at all. So, to some degree, it's okay, but yeah, that's something that the Canadian teams haven't won a cup. I wasn't going for the Habs in this past one, but the Canadian teams haven't won a cup since the 80s. 89, I believe, was the last time, and that's not really getting any easier with the fact that so many players, like free agent players, when they have a choice between a few cities, obviously they're considering their finances and they're considering could I go, we just had a couple superstars go to the Dallas Stars, not to be redundant there, but from Minnesota and other places, because they're get a house in the Dallas suburbs that's so much cheaper than anything I've ever, you know what I mean? There's all these things they're considering. They have to consider their families and whatnot. And so, yeah, you can't blame any of those players for making the decisions that they make, but it's interesting to consider. I'm a Calgary Flames fan. Calgary's up there in Canada. Calgary has lower taxes than basically the rest of the country, but still, it's kind of an issue.
That's an interesting topic too. I guess I would be curious to know, because you guys might not know this, but Rich is a Crystal Palace fan, which is one of the many soccer or football teams in London. Now, do you guys ever have any issues with maybe, because I know London housing prices are ridiculous, right? Do you ever have any sort of
London houses prices, they're crazy.
Right. Well, I'm saying in comparison to the rest of the country, do you ever have any players that maybe consider that, I guess as part of their decision-making process?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. No, to be honest, with players, London itself is the pool. If they were to choose out of a London club and a club let's just use Manchester as an example, if it wasn't for the fact that Manchester United was such a big club in itself, then they'll choose a London side because London's just the better venue. They don't really look into house prices and stuff like that. Normally the clubs maybe get them housed, or players will support their living costs and stuff like that. So yeah, if your club isn't massive, then London's the next thing. It's the next big pool.
Yeah.
That's how you kind of say it.
I think the market system in every sport really is fading, especially with there's a good and bad side to player mobility. There really is. And I'll give you this kind of example. I watch Colin Cowherd every morning. He's probably my favorite reporter that I can actually tolerate other than Skip and Shannon. I'm a huge Undisputed fan. So with the NBA, you can literally be drafted and then you can spend 2-3 years at that team. And by the time you want out, you can be gone, right? Player mobility in the NBA is insane. You hear about free agency, big signings every year, every single year. In the NFL, it's a little bit different. NFL rookie
NHL
contracts are longer. So if you get drafted by the Cleveland Browns or Detroit Lions, you might be there a while before you have the capability of leaving. I think we're seeing with shorter rookie contracts, especially, I think markets are kind of disappearing. Why stay here when I can go there, especially just like that? Who cares about markets? Where's your players?
Yeah.
Who's the player? And it's going to be weird when LeBron, like LeBron retires, and that's coming soon. I saw on ESPN they reported that this year LeBron is going to be playing his son's ex-teammates.
What?
Just to give you a perspective of how long LeBron's been in the league, this year he will be playing his son's ex-teammates. Bronny's teammates from back in school. That's wild, and I just don't see him. Bronny's going to go to the NBA, because he's a legacy player, especially LeBron's legacy. I don't see them playing against or with each other. I think LeBron's going to retire very soon, and the landscape's going to change.
Yeah.
So we'll see. And I like it. What's really good for the NBA too is the fact that Giannis just did it the old-fashioned way: win a team or win a championship with who drafted you, and stay there. I don't care what you do after that. I'm about player mobility. I love it. If you don't want to be there, don't be there. There's a certain. I think there's a certain small responsibility to at least try. And he locked it down in Milwaukee, and he won it the right way. So maybe that's the new model for success. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the reasoning for mobility is kind of important, and if you just hop around every other year, you're kind of like, all right, like at this point, KD is kind of doing that. At least it would seem. He's just like constantly switching around, or Corey Perry in the NHL. But speaking of the NHL, and then I got to go actually make dinner here. But one last thing that I just wanted to mention, we didn't talk about it earlier, but and I'm not sure if you guys have heard about Marc-Andre Fleury at all. He is the Vezina Trophy winner for the Vegas Golden Knights, or was this past season. Vezina Trophy is the best goaltender in the league award. Yeah. He was the staple for the Vegas Golden Knights ever since they were the last expansion draft team, and he's been an all-star for them. Obviously he won the Vezina last year. He brought them to the Stanley Cup. The Stanley Cup Finals in their first year of existence, the Knights anyway. Mm-hmm. So he was traded to the Chicago Blackhawks this free agency just this past week, and it really, really upset a lot of Vegas Golden Knights fans. Like I said, he's been like the staple of that team, and he's outwardly come out saying that like he wants to retire there. He loves it there, and the Vegas management even told him last year that he would retire there. So that's kind of beside the Evander Kane thing and some other like Seattle stuff. That's a big story right now. He was open to be taken by Seattle. Wait, no, he was protected. Sorry, I was wrong on that. But it's just a very interesting story. And he came out there was some confusion as to whether he would just retire or actually go and play for Chicago. And Chicago has made some other really interesting moves to get some kind of like star players and try to make their team really competitive again. And just this morning, he released like a very short video saying, like just to the Chicago fans, saying that he was going to play one last year and then retire. So he will be playing in net for the Chicago Blackhawks this coming season, and that's. I mean, I don't know. As a hockey fan, that's just good to see. I didn't want to see him just like sail into the sunset under those circumstances. It sucks what Vegas like did to him, honestly. And never been a fan of the Knights, but now even more so. So anyway, it'll be good to see Marc-Andre Fleury play one more.
One more season.
Moment for distracting me here. But yeah, he's been stolen.
I got called B-Tech Undertaker earlier. I couldn't.
Yeah,
I had to step away. Like, oh my god.
I'm a werewolf, and it's time for me to go with my werewolf dinner. So
Listen,
Hey.
Bradley is such a troll.
hey, I love trolling. It's awesome.
It is
I love it.
every stream he's there's banter. To be honest, you know what? I'm not gonna be a hypocrite when I'm on other people's streams. I'm trolling myself.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's what it's all about.
Yeah,
The-
You've got to troll. You got to have banter. It's
Yeah,
what keeps
you
these
got
things
to.
flowing. You know. So fine, man.
Yep. Speaking of that, Josh.
Ooh.
Listen, let's wrap it
Give
up
me
here,
back.
guys. I just want to say thank you so much for even just taking the time to just be on here. Like I said,
course.
as a UK fan of American sports, I'm trying to turn myself from being just a casual watcher to actually understanding what goes on. And it's great to be able to speak to you guys because it's not me just listening to like the Stephen A. Smiths and Max Kelleher's and stuff. It's talking to fans. You know,
Yeah.
this is why I started
Yeah,
this
yeah.
show on my
Giving
channel
fans a voice.
because I want to give the fans a voice, and it gives me
Yeah.
a lot more to learn about. So I'm so thankful for your time.
It gives all of us something to learn about. I know nothing of soccer, to be honest with you. I don't. So I have everything to sit back and take in as well. I think we all have something to learn in this.
This is it, and it's giving us all a voice as well. So guys, you are more than welcome to come on anytime.
Send the link. Hey.
For sure.
You guys are the
Send the
best,
link.
man.
No, I appreciate that. And David, like I said, if we could do a pre-recorded show about hockey, I want to learn so much more about that. Josh, you definitely seem to know a lot about college football. So if you want to jump on next week with Santiago and maybe Jason, JG, who that was before, I'm just going to do like these pre-recorded 101 shows where it's just like talking about the sport, what are the basics, hello there, and such, so that whenever my UK fans tune in, they can say, okay, I understand a bit more about hockey, or I understand a bit more about college football, or the NFL, or the NBA, whatever it may be. Actually, maybe you could take the NBA aspect, because you're definitely passionate about the Mavs and such, and we'll just
I'm
take
a
it from
Longhorns,
there.
Cowboys, Mavs fan. Whatever you want to talk
This
about
is
within those parameters, I'm generally
Yeah.
pretty knowledgeable. Outside of that, I like to stay quiet and learn because I have no clue what's happening.
College football and basketball. Josh is pretty knowledgeable about
That's his
those.
thing.
So
Wicked. We'll definitely have you on for that, and yeah, we'll talk outside of that. I've already asked Santi if you lot would be happy to. I've set up like a USI group where it's me, Santi, and JG. I'll be happy to have you guys on there as well because we're just talking sports anyway, talking US sports. So if you lot want to jump in the WhatsApp group, I'll be more than happy to have you lot on.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
I'll put in
this
guys
is fun.
a
I
link.
like this.
Wicked.
Awesome.
Guys, thank you so much, guys. Continue to like it, share it, this channel, share the show. I'm going to bed. It's
what time is it, Rich?
It's 20 to 12.
What time is it?
20 to 12.
Oh,
Oh,
I haven't
God.
even dinner yet.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
about
this
to
is
go
it.
make dinner.
I got home from the gym and jumped on here.
But listen, guys, subscribe to Eagle Eyed Football, and I am out. Thank you so much, guys.
Hey, see you guys.
Thanks for having me. Thank you, guys.
No problem.
Thank you.
Forgot my little outro. Here we go.